On April 1992, a man named William Bragg heard something strange on his radio. It was like nothing he'd ever experienced before, and whatever it was, it seemed to be calling out to him. For everyone else, this might have been a one-time thing, a fluke. But William felt compelled to go back, to understand more about what he'd heard and what it meant. With a backpack full of supplies and his trusty radio by his side, he headed into the nearby woods. As he walked, the radio crackled and popped, the antenna swaying gently in the breeze. Suddenly, the voice came through again, repeating the same phrase over and over, barely audible above the static. William stopped, holding his breath. As he strained to listen, it said, greater than, "We're still here, say something." He tried to calm himself, reminding himself it was probably just a prank or maybe some government test. But something in the voice made him feel uneasy, like a premonition or a half-forgotten dream. Still, he couldn't help but reply, hoping for an answer, even though he wasn't sure what kind of response he was expecting. That's when everything changed. The voice shifted, morphing into a different tone, as it repeated back to him exactly what he had just said. Startled, William realized this wasn't a prank. Whatever was out there was responding directly to him. Panicked, he turned and ran as fast as he could, crashing through the underbrush, desperate to escape whatever presence he had awakened. He stumbled over roots and rocks, branches whipping at his face, the voice echoing through the trees. Greater than William, William, William. Shaking with fear, he burst out of the woods onto a dirt road, collapsing in relief. Safe at least for the moment, he looked back at the trees, realizing that he'd somehow managed to escape without seeing where he was going. Disoriented, he noticed his radio was missing. Had it fallen out during his escape? He retraced his steps cautiously, calling out for help. But there was no answer. Suddenly, he spotted his radio lying on the ground a few feet away. Relieved, he picked it up and turned it on, half expecting to hear the mocking voice taunting him. Instead, it was silent. Puzzled, he flipped through the channels, finding nothing but static. Just as he began to relax slightly, the voice came over the air again, seeming to leap directly into his mind. It said, greater than, "Welcome back, William." Terrified, he dropped the radio, backing away as if burned. How could it be? He hadn't even touched it. Then he realized with growing horror that he was standing right where he'd been before. The trees behind him were the same ones he'd seen when he first entered the woods. He was trapped in a loop, unable to escape. Then he noticed something strange. The woods around him seemed different. The sunlight filtering through the leaves took on an eerie green hue, and the shadows seemed deeper than before. He could sense something watching him, something beyond his understanding, lurking just out of sight. Paralyzed with fear, he wanted to scream, but no sound came out. He collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed by a growing sense of dread. And as darkness fell, he knew he was not alone. Whatever had been hiding in the woods had found him. And so it goes. Those who venture too close to Old Echo never leave the same way they arrived. In 2003, a group of urban explorers known as the Lost Signal dared to enter Old Echo, broadcasting their journey live on the internet. They planned to document everything, uncovering any secrets or mysteries the town might hold. But what they found instead was beyond anything they could have imagined. Their camera crew split up, exploring different parts of the eerily silent town. The streets were deserted, houses vacant, as if the town's residents had simply vanished into thin air. They discovered remnants of everyday life frozen in time, a newspaper lying on a porch swing, toys scattered on a playground, a book left open on a kitchen table, but there was no sign of life anywhere. As they continued their exploration, the team came across an old radio sitting on a shelf in one of the houses. One of the members turned it on and static filled the airwaves. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the speaker, repeating the same phrase over and over. It was faint and distorted, but one thing was clear. They were being watched. Terrified, the group fled the house and raced back to their van. But as they drove away, they could have sworn they heard the voice following them, whispering their every move. Later, they gathered around a computer, trying to piece together the cryptic message they had received. It was barely audible, but they could make out the words, "We're still here." Was there someone or something living in the abandoned town? Was it trying to communicate with them? As the night wore on, they explored further, each discovery deepening the mystery of Old Echo. They found photographs of smiling families, yearbooks filled with student photos, and local newspapers chronicling everyday events. It was as if the town had just disappeared one day, leaving its history and memories behind. But as they delved deeper into the enigma of Old Echo, the team began to experience strange and unsettling phenomena. Their cameras malfunctioned, their equipment mysteriously broke, and they kept hearing whispers and footsteps when no one was around. The town seemed to be reacting to their presence. And then there was the voice. It followed them everywhere they went, whispering secrets just beyond their comprehension. They tried to ignore it, but it grew louder, more insistent, until it was all they could hear. As the investigation continued, the team grew increasingly disturbed. They felt as though they were being watched, stalked by an unseen presence. The once quaint and charming town now seemed sinister and menacing. They discovered a hidden room in one of the houses filled with strange artifacts, old journals, cryptic symbols, and recordings of unsettling sounds. The room seemed to be a shrine of sorts, a place where the town's secrets were kept hidden from the world. As they pored over the journal entries, they uncovered a tale of terror and despair. The town's residents had been plagued by nightmares, hallucinations, and a growing sense of dread. The entries grew increasingly frantic as the townspeople described a force beyond their understanding that was slowly consuming them. They also found disturbing evidence of violence, as if the town's inhabitants had turned on one another in their desperation. The team was shaken to their core, realizing that they were uncovering a dark and sinister history that had been buried for decades. As they prepared to leave Old Echo, the team gathered their belongings and prepared for their final broadcast. They had uncovered enough evidence to convince even the most skeptical viewers that there was something truly evil lurking in the town. But as they said their goodbyes, the voice crackled through the speakers one last time. It warned them to never return, promising that they would not escape unscathed. The team ignored the warning and cut off the broadcast. As they drove away, they could have sworn they heard screams echoing behind them. And when they turned to look back, they saw the ghostly figure of a man standing in the road waving frantically. When the team returned home, they began piecing together their experiences in Old Echo. They edited their footage, poring over every frame for clues and trying to make sense of the cryptic messages they had received. They discovered disturbing patterns and connections, realizing that the town's history was deeply intertwined with their own lives. They had been drawn to Old Echo for a reason, but what that reason was remained elusive. As they shared their findings with the world, they knew they would be ridiculed and mocked. But they also knew they had uncovered something truly terrifying, a secret that should have remained buried. In the years since the Lost Signal Team's expedition, Old Echo has become a place of myth and legend. Some believe it's a gateway to another dimension, a portal to a world where evil things dwell. Others believe it's a place where time itself is distorted, a pocket universe where the laws of reality do not apply. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: Old Echo is a place to avoid at all costs. For those who venture too close to its borders are never the same again. Now go watch Most Terrifying Unsolved Mysteries, or click this other video instead.